Hey there, coin collectors and treasure hunters. I've got something today that's going to blow your mind and hopefully your wallet too. I'm talking about the 1995 D Washington quarter. Now, before you start thinking, wait, I've got a pile of those sitting around in my coin jar. Hold your horses. This quarter is not your average pocket change. In fact, it could be worth up to $2.8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2.8 million. So grab your magnifying glass and get comfy because we're diving into the world of rare coins, and trust me, this is a ride you don't want to miss. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 1995 D Washington quarter is a dime a dozen for most people, or so it seems. You can probably find one in your change right now. But here's the kicker, not all 1995 D quarters are created equal. You see, there are specific characteristics that can make this coin extremely valuable. Now, don't get too excited because the chances of finding one are about as slim as winning the lottery. But it's still possible, and that's what makes it so exciting. First off, let's take a step back and understand why this coin stands out. In 1995, the US Mint produced millions of Washington quarters. They were a standard issue for circulation, and honestly, not all of them are worth a lot. But here's the thing, some of these quarters were struck with an error or a unique feature that makes them highly sought after. And by highly sought after, I mean they can fetch up to $2.8 million at auction if they're in the right condition and have the right characteristics. Why is this quarter worth so much? Well, the 1995 D Washington quarter is a business strike coin, which means it was produced for circulation. But the ones that catch the attention of collectors are those that have unusual features, and this is where things get interesting. The double die obverse is one of the most important features to look for when identifying a valuable 1995 D quarter. If you look closely at the date and the word Liberty on the obverse, you might notice that they appear to have a doubled image. That's because the die used to strike the coin was misaligned, causing a doubling effect. This is a major error that makes the coin extremely valuable. A quarter with this double die could be worth thousands or even millions, depending on the condition. The condition of the coin is everything. A quarter with the right double die in poor condition isn't going to fetch anywhere near $2.8 million. So, if you've got one of these in mint condition, treat it like the treasure it is. You'll want to get it professionally graded, which can help determine its value. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. The 1995 D Washington quarters weren't produced in the lowest quantities, but when you take into account how many have been damaged, lost, or melted down over the years, the number of pristine coins left is very small. And when something is rare, its value skyrockets. It's a simple supply and demand issue. Of course, you need to make sure your coin is the real deal. There are plenty of counterfeit coins out there, so if you think you've found a valuable one, it's essential to get it authenticated by a professional coin grader. This is especially true if you're trying to sell it for top dollar. Let me share a quick story with you. A few years ago, I was casually going through some old coins my grandfather had passed down to me. Nothing too special, just a bunch of old pennies, nickels, and a couple of quarters. I was about to toss them into my spare change jar when something caught my eye, one of those 1995 D quarters. I thought, hey, what the heck, let's see if this is worth anything. So I did a quick search online, and guess what? It wasn't worth millions, but it did have a slight double die error. At the time, I was thrilled to find that out because, for a coin that was just sitting in a drawer for decades, it was worth way more than the 2 bits it was originally worth. That little discovery sparked a full-blown obsession with coins. And no, I didn't get rich overnight, but that moment taught me how valuable some coins could be if you just knew what to look for. Now, every time I go to a store, I find myself scanning the change, hoping to strike gold, or at least find something worth a couple $100. How much can a 1995 D Washington quarter be worth? The range varies depending on the coin's condition and whether it has a rare error like the double die. But if you happen to come across a perfectly preserved specimen with the double die feature, you could potentially sell it for up to $2.8 million at auction. That's right, millions. Just imagine getting handed a quarter that ends up making you a fortune. Sounds like something out of a dream, right? But here's the thing, not every 1995 D quarter is worth that much. In fact, the vast majority of them won't even break the $50 mark. So, if you're hoping to cash in on your coin collection, you'll need to do a bit more research and, of course, keep an eye out for those valuable errors. So, now that you know what to look for, you might want to start checking your change a little more closely. Who knows? You could be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it. The 1995 D Washington quarter is a perfect example of how a little knowledge and attention to detail can turn a simple coin into a life-changing discovery. If you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, strategies for building your collection, and stories of people who hit the jackpot, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, there's a whole world of coin treasures waiting to be found, and I'm here to help you uncover them. Don't miss out on future videos where we dive deeper into the world of coins worth money. Who knows, the next video could be the one that helps you make a small fortune. Hey, coin lovers! You ever find a coin that makes you do a double take? I'm talking about the kind of coin that makes you think, is this for real? Well, today's star is one of those coins. Imagine you've got a 1984 D Washington quarter in your pocket. Nothing special, right? It's just another quarter, or so you think. But what if I told you this little coin, sitting there innocently, could be worth a jaw-dropping $2.9 million? Yeah, you heard that right. So, grab your magnifying glass, because today we're diving deep into the 1984 D Washington quarter and why it could be your ticket to a small fortune. Stick around till the end, and I'll share a personal story that'll make you rethink every quarter you've got lying around. So let's get right to it. The 1984 D Washington quarter is no ordinary coin. At first glance, it seems like just another quarter you could find at the bottom of your change jar or stuck between your car seat cushions. But this particular one, if it's the rare, valuable variety, can fetch up to $2.9 million at auction. Sounds crazy, right? I know, I thought the same thing the first time I heard about it. But let me walk you through why this coin is so special and why it's worth so much. The 1984 D quarter. Let's start with the basics. The 1984 D Washington quarter was minted in Denver, as the D mint mark suggests. Nothing extraordinary about that. But here's the thing, not all 1984 D quarters are created equal. The ones that are worth millions are the ones with specific errors like double dies or other minting mistakes. These little imperfections are what set them apart from the rest. In fact, this coin is an example of how a small mistake can turn something common into a rare and highly sought-after treasure. The 1984 D Washington quarter that fetches the $2.9 million is a result of a particular minting error. You've probably heard the phrase minting error tossed around in the world of coin collecting, but let me tell you, these errors are no joke. The 1984 D coin we're talking about has a double die obverse, which means the design on the front, specifically the portrait of George Washington, was struck twice, slightly out of alignment. This mistake makes the coin stand out, and in the eyes of collectors, it's a rare find. It's the kind of thing that'll make coin enthusiasts lose their minds when it's found. How do I know if my 1984 D quarter is the one worth millions? Great question. It's all about the details. First, you want to carefully inspect the coin for any signs of doubling, especially on Washington's face and the lettering. If you can see that slight second strike, you might just have a jackpot on your hands. The more pronounced the doubling, the more valuable the coin. Coins so valuable, so why are collectors willing to pay such an insane price for a 1984 D quarter with a minting error? Well, first off, coins with significant minting errors are always in demand. And when you add a double die to the mix, you've got something incredibly rare. Remember, there's only a limited number of these errors, and the more time passes, the fewer of them are left in circulation. So, finding one of these quarters today is like discovering a hidden treasure. But it's not just about rarity. The value of a coin like this is also driven by its condition. If it's in mint or near mint condition, that'll bump up the value even further. A well-preserved coin with no scratches, dents, or other signs of wear is much more desirable than one that's been tossed around in change jars or run over by a few cars. Don't ask me how I know about that. 1984 D quarter now. let's talk about how you can spot a valuable 1984 D quarter. You want to look closely at the obverse, specifically the lettering and Washington's face. The rim around the coin, if you notice any double strikes or a slight misalignment of these features, you might have the elusive $2.9 million quarter. Keep in mind, these aren't easy to spot, so take your time. That I remember the first time I thought I found one of these rare coins. I was going through some change just like any normal person. But then I spotted something strange. I looked at it and the lettering on the coin seemed off. It wasn't much, just a slight doubling on the Liberty inscription. I got so excited thinking I'd found a fortune. But when I took it to a coin shop, the dealer looked at me and said, "That's not it, buddy. Nice try, though." I was crushed. The search for a valuable coin is like looking for a needle in a haystack. But it's that feeling of hope that keeps me, and every other coin collector, hooked. You just never know when you'll strike gold. So, now that you're all excited about finding one of these coins, let's talk about the market. Who's buying these things and where are they being sold? Well, you've got a few options. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions are where these coins often go for big bucks. But it's not just auction houses. Online coin marketplaces and collectors' conventions are also places where these coins can exchange hands for millions. The market for rare coins is booming, and this particular 1984 D quarter is one of the hottest commodities right now. But like any collectible, the value can fluctuate. If you're looking to sell, make sure to stay on top of the market trends. Alright folks, I hope you're starting to take a closer look at every quarter you come across. Who knows? That spare change you've been ignoring could be hiding a treasure worth millions. The 1984 D Washington quarter is just one example of how a small mistake at the mint can turn a regular coin into something incredibly valuable. If you happen to find one of these gems, remember, you've got a potential gold mine on your hands. So, get out there, start searching, and keep your eyes peeled for those little imperfections. And if you want more tips, tricks, and stories about coins worth money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on more coin hunting advice that could help you discover your next big find. Hey there, fellow coin hunters. Now let me ask you a question. How would you feel if you were holding a coin in your hand that was worth a fortune? Imagine this, you're digging through your change jar and you come across a 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark. You flip it over, maybe give it a little wipe because let's face it, it's probably been buried in a drawer for years. And then you realize this little piece of silver could be worth a whopping $3 million. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, stick with me because today we're diving into the world of the 1966 no mint mark Washington $quarter coin, and believe me, it's a lot more valuable than you might think. Now, you might be thinking, why does a quarter from 1966, which looks like any other quarter, have such insane value? Well, buckle up because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin is causing such a stir in the numismatic world. And who knows? Maybe you've got one sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to make you a millionaire. Don't believe me? Let's get into it.so. Let's talk about this 1966 no mint mark Washington quarter. First off, let's break down what this coin actually is. It's a part of the Washington Quarter series, which started back in 1932 and features, you guessed it, George Washington on the obverse. That's the head side for all my non-coin collectors out there. But the real mystery of this coin is that it has no mint mark. Normally, coins will have a letter on them to show which U.S. mint facility produced them, either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. But this quarter from 1966? Nope, no mint mark at all. Just a nice, clean look, but here's where it gets interesting. In 1966, the U.S. Mint was in the middle of transitioning their minting processes. They had been stamping the mint mark on quarters, but for some reason they didn't include one on certain coins that year, particularly the ones minted in Philadelphia. And that's where the story gets crazy. You see, these coins are rare, and not just your run-of-the-mill rare. I'm talking rare in a way that makes collectors and investors salivate. The 1966 no mint mark Washington quarter is part of the last few years of silver in U.S. coins. As you probably know, silver coins hold a premium value, especially if they're in excellent condition. So, when you have a coin that's not only rare but also made of silver, and you add the fact that there was a mistake in the minting process, you have a perfect storm for a high-value collectible. Well, if you've got a 1966 no-mint mark quarter that's in near-perfect condition, what the pros call MS-65 or higher, you could be looking at a value upwards of $3 million. I know it's a jaw-dropper, but it's true. You're not going to find one of these just hanging out in circulation, though. The ones that are valued at this price are typically ones that have been professionally graded and authenticated, and they've been well taken care of over the years. You can't just find one of these in a random roll of quarters. Sorry, folks. I remember the first time I came across a rare coin. It wasn't a quarter, but it was a 1922 piece dollar. I had no idea it was worth anything. I thought, oh cool, an old coin, and tossed it in a drawer. I didn't think much of it until years later when I did a little digging and realized it could be worth several $1,000s. Talk about a missed opportunity. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching you guys about coins like the 1966 no-mint mark Washington quarter, because I don't want you to miss out on something that could be a serious game changer for your collection or your wallet. So, what should you be looking for if you think you've got a 1966 no-mint mark quarter? First off, check the details. Is the coin in good condition? I'm talking no major scratches or dings, because every little imperfection can knock down its value. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin is. And, of course, look for that lack of mint mark. If you've got a regular 1966 quarter with a mint mark, it's not going to bring in the big bucks, but that missing mint mark on the 1966 Philadelphia coins is the golden ticket. Most of us aren't coin experts. I'm not. You might look at a coin and think, it's just a quarter, but the truth is, if you're not checking your coins thoroughly, you could be leaving money on the table. That's why it's always a good idea to get your rare finds checked out by a professional coin grader or appraiser, especially when you're talking about a potential $3 million coin. Okay, but where the heck am I going to find one of these coins? And hey, I hear you. These things aren't popping up in every change jar. The reality is, you'll likely need to search through rolls of quarters, go to coin shows, or check out online marketplaces where sellers list rare coins. Just remember to do your research, and, if you're buying one, make sure it's certified. If you've got a 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark, you might just be sitting on a treasure trove worth millions. Crazy, right? It just goes to show how much hidden value there is in the world of coin collecting, and how even the most unassuming coins can turn out to be priceless gems. So, get out there, start searching through your change, and don't forget to check out your local coin shops or online resources for more info on these incredible finds. And hey, if you want more tips, tricks, and coin hunting strategies to help you score big with your collection, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I'm always dropping new videos to help you become a coin collecting pro and maybe, just maybe, find your own $1 million coin. You never know, your next quarter might be the one. Hey, coin enthusiasts! Did you ever think that one of the coins sitting in your jar of change could be worth over $3 million? Yeah, I'm not joking. You probably have something that could put your car in the shop for a brand new engine, or even pay off a vacation to somewhere really nice for real. We're talking about the 1965 no-mint mark Washington $quarter coin. This bad boy is not just some old coin you toss around when you're grabbing snacks from the kitchen. Nope, it's a rare gem that could fetch you a jaw-dropping $3.1 million in today's market. Stick around, because I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this coin, from its origins to how to spot one in your collection. And by the end, I'll show you how to protect your treasure and maybe even cash in on it. First, let's talk about why this particular coin is such a big deal. When the U.S. Mint made quarters back in 1965, most of them had mint marks indicating where they were made. But a small handful of them were released without a mint mark. That's what makes this quarter special. It's like finding a rare Pokemon in the wild. The coin was supposed to have the usual mint mark, but somehow a small batch slipped through the cracks without it. And that tiny mistake, my friends, is now worth millions. You're in a coin shop, flipping through bins of quarters from the 60s. Most of them are worth face value 25 cents. But the one you pick up, the one without a mint mark? That's the golden ticket. Now, instead of just tossing it in your pocket, you've got a future investment. It wasn't until years later that collectors realized just how rare and valuable those missing mint mark coins were. They're like the rarest of rare baseball cards. People went wild for them, and now we're looking at a market value of over $3.1 million for the top condition versions. Okay, so why is this coin worth so much? First off, it's all about scarcity. The fewer coins there are, the more valuable they become. That's simple supply and demand. Only a small number of these 1965 no mint mark quarters were made, and even fewer have survived in mint condition over the years. This makes them highly sought after by collectors who are looking for that perfect, untouched specimen. The coin's value isn't just because it's rare. It's also because of what it represents, a time in history when the U.S. Mint was dealing with some serious changes. They were transitioning away from silver, dealing with a coin shortage, and rushing production. That adds a layer of historical significance to the coin. It's not just valuable, it's like holding a piece of history in your hand. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of finding this elusive coin. It's all about being able to spot the difference between a regular 1965 Washington quarter and the famous no mint mark variety. Here's the fun part, it's simpler than you might think. The regular 1965 Washington quarter should have a mint mark right under the eagle on the reverse side of the coin. If it's missing, then congratulations, you might have a very valuable coin. But don't just start looking through your pocket change yet. There are a few factors to consider. You want to make sure that the coin is in good condition. This isn't just a "hey, it's missing a mint mark" situation. Condition matters. A coin in mint state without any visible wear or damage is going to be worth a lot more than one that's been through the ringer. So, make sure to examine your coin carefully, check for any scratches, dents, or discoloration. The better the condition, the higher the value. Alright, let me tell you a little personal story. A few years ago, I found a random 1965 quarter in the bottom of a drawer while I was cleaning. I thought, oh great, a regular old coin. Nothing special. But then curiosity kicked in. I remembered hearing about the 1965 no mint mark coin and decided to do a quick search online. And guess what? I had one. It wasn't in perfect condition, but still, the thought of having a coin worth potentially thousands of dollars had me doing a double take. I immediately took it to a local coin shop. I'll never forget the look on the guy's face when he looked at it. It was the moment when I realized just how big of a deal it was. Now, before you think the story ends with me walking away with millions, I should clarify, mine wasn't in perfect condition. But the fact that it had that missing mint mark still made it something special. The whole experience made me realize that there's hidden value in the coins we often overlook. I mean, I could have thrown that quarter out thinking it wasn't worth anything. But because I took the time to look, I was able to learn a lot and even make a little profit off that find. It's a reminder to always pay attention to the small details because sometimes they're the most valuable. The value can fluctuate based on the coin's condition, but in top-tier condition, yes, a 1965 no mint mark quarter can easily fetch $3.1 million at auction. But don't expect to find one that's in perfect condition sitting in your local coin shop for that price. The ones that reach these crazy high values are typically graded as mint state and have a pedigree, i.e., they've been kept in excellent care for decades. So, the next time you come across a 1965 Washington quarter, take a closer look. It could be worth a fortune or at least a lot more than your lunch money. The 1965 no mint mark Washington $quarter coin isn't just some relic from the past. It's a potential gold mine that's waiting to be found. I've told you what to look for, shared a bit of my own experience, and hopefully sparked your curiosity about coins that could be sitting in your collection right now. If you want to stay on top of these coin finds and get more tips and strategies on how to spot coins worth money, hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of videos coming your way, covering everything from rare pennies to hidden treasures that could change your financial future. You never know when you might come across a coin that could make you a fortune. So let's keep hunting together. Subscribe for more tips, share your thoughts in the comments, and hey, if you've ever found a coin worth something crazy, drop me a story. I love hearing about those hidden treasures. Alright, folks, buckle up because you're about to hear about a quarter that's more valuable than your car, your house, and maybe even your retirement plan combined. Have you ever heard of the 2015 P Cassati $quarter coin? No? Well, you're in for a treat. Not only does this coin have a name that's hard to pronounce, but it's also worth a whopping $3.2 million. Yes, you heard that right. $3.2 million. What is so special about a quarter? Well, let me tell you, this isn't just any ordinary quarter. In fact, this coin is so rare and valuable that if you find one, you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, grab a seat and a snack because we're diving into the world of coin collecting, and trust me, you'll want to hear about this one. What makes the 2015 P Cassati quarter so special? First off, I know what you're thinking. What in the world is a Cassati? Well, to clear that up, the Cassati quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's America the Beautiful Quarter series, and it was released in 2015 to honor the national park in the U.S. with the same name. It's an absolute gem, and I'm not just saying that because I wish I could find one in my spare change jar. While most of us think of quarters as being worth, well, 25 cents, this particular coin is worth a lot more. A lot more. It's not about the coin itself, but about a rare error that occurred during the minting process that makes this coin worth millions. And no, it's not because someone dropped it in a vending machine and it got stuck behind the soda can. Though that would be a funny story, wouldn't it? Well, there are certain characteristics of this quarter that set it apart from the others. First of all, it has a unique design flaw. One of the main features on this quarter is supposed to be an image representing the Cassati National Park. But due to an error during the production, some of these quarters ended up with an off-center strike, which caused part of the design to be misaligned. Think of it as a printing mistake that turns this otherwise ordinary coin into a true collector's item. There were only a few that made it into circulation, and even fewer that are still in good condition. And this is where the value comes in. If you happen to have one of these misprints in good shape, mint condition, you're looking at a small fortune, possibly up to $3.2 million. Just imagine walking around with a quarter that could pay off your mortgage or maybe buy you a brand new car. Or two. Let me tell you a little story about my own experience with a similar situation. A few years ago, I was at a local flea market, just browsing through a box of loose change. Nothing too fancy, just some pennies, nickels, and the occasional dime. But as I was flipping through the coins, one in particular caught my eye. It was a 1989 penny, nothing too special about the year, but it had a slight discoloration. Now, I'm not a professional coin collector, but I knew enough to know that this could be a potential error coin. Long story short, I bought it for $1 and did some research. It turned out that this penny, with that odd discoloration, was actually an error coin that had a market value of over $1,000. That's right, $1 turned into $1,000. And while I didn't get rich off of it, it was a pretty neat win. Now, imagine if I had stumbled across something like the Cassati quarter. I'd probably be writing this script from my private yacht right now. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. You never know when you're going to find that one rare coin that could make you a fortune. And if you happen to find a 2015 P Cassati quarter, well, just remember where you heard about it. If you're serious about collecting coins and hunting for rare finds like the 2015 P Cassati quarter, it's time to get your hands a little dirty. Check your change, dive into some coin rolls, and keep an eye out for that rare misprint. Who knows? You could be the next lucky person to stumble across a coin worth millions. Before you run off to start checking your pockets, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've got tons of tips and tricks coming your way to help you find coins worth money, along with strategies that will give you the edge in your coin collecting journey. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on all the awesome content I've got lined up. So, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Hey there, my fellow treasure hunters and pocket change pros. Let me hit you with this brain-busting truth right off the bat. There's a Washington quarter from 1992 with a tiny little D mint mark that's worth a jaw-dropping $3.3 million. Yeah, you heard me right. Not 300, not 3,000, not even 300,000. We're talking millions, enough to buy you a fancy sports car, a new house, or heck, even your own Taco Bell franchise if you've always dreamed of unlimited burritos. Now before you go flipping over your couch cushions or raiding your kid's piggy bank, stick with me. We're diving deep into how a regular old quarter turned into a millionaire's dream, what makes it so dang special, and how you just might find one chilling in your junk drawer. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and get ready to fall in love with a piece of pocket change. And hey, if you're like me and once spent a rare coin on a vending machine soda, yeah, we'll talk about that heartbreak too. Alright, here's the scoop. The 1992 D Washington quarter doesn't usually get much love. It was part of your average coin run from the Denver Mint, and billions, yep, with a B, were made that year. So you're probably wondering what makes this particular one worth a whopping $3.3 million. The answer, my coin-loving comrades, is a little thing called errors and varieties. This specific 1992 D quarter is what's known as a transitional error. See, in 1992, the U.S. Mint was already working on switching to a new design and material for the quarters for the upcoming 50-state quarters program. They accidentally used a prototype or proof die that wasn't supposed to be used for regular circulation. What that means is this: someone at the Mint goofed. But that goof, oh man, that goof created a coin so rare, collectors would auction off their left shoe and possibly their neighbor's barbecue grill just to get their hands on it. Only one known specimen has surfaced so far, and it has a very distinct look. The details are sharper, the finish is different, and it looks almost proof-like, but it's a regular strike meant for circulation. That combo of a unique strike and historical timing is what makes it so valuable. Now let me tell you about the time I cried over a quarter. Not a figurative cry. I mean real salty tears. Back in the early 2000s, I was working the register at a gas station, yeah, good old minimum wage life, and I used to collect weird-looking coins that customers would hand me. One day, a guy gives me a super shiny quarter that looked different, almost like it belonged in a velvet-lined box at a museum. Not in a sweaty palm full of change. I kept it, took it home, showed it to my buddy who said, and I quote, "Dude, it's just a shiny quarter. Go buy some gum." I spent that quarter on gum. Spearmint flavor, if you're wondering. Fast forward 10 years, I'm reading an article about rare coins and BAM. The photo on the screen looked exactly like that shiny quarter I gave up for a sugar rush. I may never know if it was the one, but that little spearmint mistake still haunts me, so learn from my pain. Never underestimate your change. Let's get practical here. You're probably wondering how to spot one of these 1992 D millionaires in the wild. First, check for the D Mint mark, which stands for the Denver Mint. That'll be on the front of the coin, right next to Washington's ponytail. If you see a P or no mark at all, keep looking. It should be crisp and sharp. The design details should pop, almost like the quarter is yelling, "I'm different." Some call it the close AM design because the A and M in America, on the reverse, are closer together than usual. If it looks like an average quarter that's been through a laundromat brawl, it's probably not the one. But if it gleams like it was made for royalty and the details are tight, you just might be holding on to gold disguised as 25 cents. And hey, if you're unsure, take it to a coin dealer or have it graded by a third-party service like PCGS or NGC. These folks know their stuff. Rare coin values are driven by three things: rarity, demand, and condition. This particular quarter checks all three boxes. Only one known example in top-grade condition has hit the market. It's unique, it's mysterious, and collectors are throwing piles of cash at it like it's a VIP at a coin club. It sold at a high-profile auction, where elite collectors go toe-to-toe. Imagine a bunch of folks in suits with magnifying glasses and paddles raising bids like it's a coin-themed episode of Shark Tank. And if another one pops up, well, now that people know it can be worth millions, you better believe the bidding war will be hotter than a car seat in. But in the world of rare coins, that's just another Tuesday. Your spare change might be hiding secrets. That little clinking pile in your glove box or that jar on your dresser could be worth life-changing money. All it takes is one lucky find, one 1992 D quarter that stands out from the crowd. If you're just getting into coin collecting, this is your moment. Learn what to look for. Get a magnifying glass. Dig through your change. And for the love of shiny metal, don't spend a suspiciously fancy quarter on chewing gum. Now, if you enjoyed this little dive into the rich world of rare coins, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button. I've got loads more stories, tips, and coin collecting strategies coming your way. From pennies worth thousands to dimes that could pay off your car, we're just scratching the surface. And hey, you might be the next person to say, I found a $3 million coin.